Thank you all for joining me today. I wanted to use this as a brief meeting just to go through some basics around the graduate recruitment grants, and then also take this opportunity to answer any questions that you all may have. But first, let me say congratulations. So congratulations to all of you for
Hey, Dr. Barlow,
yeah,
I can't hear you.
nobody can hear me.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
I can't hear anybody.
Um, I've done this before where
I'm gonna leave and come back.
Okay.
Okay.
The volume might be down too. That's happened to me before.
Okay. I've also done a presentation for a while without being able to be heard, so I appreciate y'all speaking up. All right, so let me say congratulations to y'all for receiving the recruitment grants. It's, we're able to fund some of everything that's submitted at this point, so I wouldn't say it's necessarily a competitive thing at this moment, but it does represent a desire to do things a little bit differently, to try to stretch yourselves a little bit differently towards recruitment. And we see the benefits of that. So I appreciate everyone who took the time to pause a moment, think a moment, and put together a proposal and submit that so that you could receive these funds. So congratulations to each of you for that work on your part. I want to just an overview of what I'm going to share this morning. I'll share some of the numbers around this just so that you have an idea of how much money we're talking about with the different grants and so forth. I'll talk a little bit about the money process, just so that we tend to get questions, particularly in May and June around this. So maybe to offset and proactively address some of those questions. I'll hit on some resources and some tips, and then we'll have time for questions at the end. So to start with some numbers, just wanted to share with you our numbers for this year. We actually had 15 programs submit for these recruitment dollars. The total requested was just over $34,000, which is a little bit above the actual budgeted amount. And so we were able to award a total of $30,500. So very excited to be able to get that money out into y'all's hands to be using it for recruiting. Here's an image of where that money is going, and you can see that we didn't have any participation from two of the colleges. We have overwhelming participation from the College of Education, and then we have one from the College of Business and two from CHBS. And so I share this to say, those of you in the other colleges, like, get the word out. We send out the requests for proposals, and push it out, but there's definitely some other programs that could be benefiting from this. So if you have a grant, mention it to other people, let them be jealous for this year and encourage them to apply next year. The way I did the amounts awarded, so we had a subgroup of the graduate council that reviewed all the proposals, and so they were scored based on our rubric. And those proposals that received a perfect or nearly perfect score were funded at 100% up to the maximum of 2,500. And then if your score was like not quite perfect, then you were funded at like 80 or 85%, and then it dropped to like 75%. So that's how I made those decisions since we couldn't award everybody's. Just a little bit around impact. This is a graph that I showed program coordinators last year, so you can see how it ends at 2022. This is graduate enrollment over the last decade. And so I just kind of very tackily tacked on 2023 rather than go back and try to recreate all of this. But you can see, like, we hit an all-time high right here in 2022. We had 1,919 graduate students that fall. And then this fall, and it's practically flat. I don't know where my cursor is. There it is. Our enrollment was 1,906. So we still have like record enrollment at the graduate level across those 2 years. And the thing that I want to point out is that in 2019, that was the first year we did the recruitment grants. So I'm not saying that this record enrollment is a direct result of the recruitment grants, but that is part of the puzzle because there's a lot of things that have come together. The stars have sort of aligned in a lot of ways to make that record enrollment that you see up there happen. But I do believe that the recruitment grants, play a part in that. In terms of the money process, questions start coming up for us like towards the end of the fiscal year when people are trying to spend at the last minute and they're asking us questions. So I thought it would be helpful for you all to get just a sense of how this works. So in terms of how it works, the University of Central Arkansas receives money when students apply to graduate school. So people who are applying pay a $45 application fee. And then the university takes a part of that and it's in our base budget in the graduate school. So we're not necessarily getting all of it, but they have predicted the amount and they put that back into our base budget. So if we're not getting all of it, we're getting pretty much all of it. And then once you receive a recruitment grant, we transfer those monies to your department. So if you were awarded $2,500, then we transfer $2,500 to your department. And then your department, your admin, your chair and all, they worked with you to spend those dollars. And so one of two things happen. Either you do spend the money and you should be spending it according to, what you put in your proposal. And if there's a need to change, we're really flexible. You can just let Leslie know, hey, we were going to spend it this way, but for these reasons, we've decided to spend it this way. Leslie will make a note and then all will work out. If you don't just spend it, so that money is sitting over there in your department and you don't spend it, then it comes back to the university on June 30th. So this is not money that they allow to roll over, so they take it back. So it's really important that you start thinking about, what you said you were going to do, and then start taking those steps towards doing that now, because we have had instances where people were contacting us in June wanting to know if they could roll that money over, and one, we didn't have the money, so it's not our say so anyway, and two, the university's not going to do it. So we want you to start now. So that's how the money flows through all of this. Some resources that you have available to you as you go through this process. So a lot of y'all include things around print materials, social media campaigns, promotional materials. So with that in mind, like UMAC, those are the people that can help you to get this stuff done. They have a communications toolkit and you can see all the different things that are in the communications toolkit. I'm not sending out like the link to that. You can just go to the UCA website, in the search bar, type communications toolkit, and this comes up. But there are a lot of things that are there to help you in terms of if you want to create something with a logo on it, or if you want to create video, like all that information is there for you. Within that toolkit, you'll see they talk about the BearShare brand portal, and this is a space where you can go and get those graphics and photos if you're wanting to create, they have professionally done photos that are in there, and you can find those and use them in your presentations or in any kind of materials that you're creating. And then also as a part of the communications toolkit, they have what they call every third Thursday training, or ETT training. And so if you're looking at wanting to create, your own social media posts and things like that, you might be interested in going to that training to learn more about the social media aspect of it. Or if you're wanting to work on your web page, right? So all of you have a program, most all of you have a program web page. It's really important to keep that up to date. Make sure it looks good and that sort of thing. So you could go to the WordPress to learn more about how to edit your pages and so forth. So a lot of resources available through UMAC if you're interested in like those social media campaigns, print materials, or promotional materials. Also, as a part of this, there are the people. And really, none of us, like we're all faculty people, we weren't trained on marketing and things. So the folks at UMAC are experts and they're here and they want to help you. They want to know now that you want help, right? They want to be able to help you now rather than in the spring if they're with tight timelines, they might not can help. Mark Huffington, of course, is over UMAC, and so he can entertain general questions. Kimberly Klotz can help you with print materials and promotional items that you might be after. And then Alyssa Sparks is their digital media person. So if you're thinking about social media stuff, she's the person that you can talk to. And they can get down into the weeds of like, whether you should be using Facebook or should you be using Twitter or X as it's now called, I guess, or should you be using Instagram? And they can give you answers around that based on who you're trying to target and so forth. So these are our experts, and I encourage you to reach out to them really soon if that's a part of the budget that you have written. They do have a couple of places where you can request their help on different things. So one place, and again, this is on the page where it's the communications toolkit. There's a link there that says complete project request. And so it allows you to put in like what your project is and give some of the big ideas around it, the timeline for it. And then, you know, they'll connect you with the right person and you can start working on that project. They also have this forms link. And if you click on that, there are tons of forms listed there. So you can look at that. And if whatever you're after is listed there, you can complete that form. But that's how you can initiate contact with them. And then, of course, you can always email them. But I think they would probably prefer that you use their forms and things. And then some tips. So let me talk about just a few tips as you get started on this. Sorry. Again, if your budget included monies to be used for social media, for print materials or promotional materials, then you definitely want to reach out to UMAC now. And last year we sent UMAC, and I think right now I'm kind of talking to Leslie George more than anything. We sent them a list of the recruitment grant recipients, and we kind of outlined like what the money was being used for so that they had a list of who might be reaching out to them in terms of social media or in terms of promotional items or whatever. So Leslie, if we can get that done in the next week, that'd be great. We'll send it to them, but don't let that slow y'all up. Go ahead and reach out to that person and ask for their help in making this happen as soon as you can. Don't wait until the last minute to get started. So y'all, this stuff takes forever and a day to do. We do promotional materials, you know, the swag that we have for the graduate school each year. And, you know, we think that maybe a month ought to be enough for that to happen. And it never is. So we usually start working on that like in February with a goal of having it all ordered and paid for before that June 30th end of the fiscal year. And sometimes we don't make it. So I would encourage y'all, if you have anything like that, go ahead and get started on it. And I've probably said that 10 times already in this 13 minutes I've had you, and I'll probably say it 3 more times because it's just that important. Please go ahead and get started. And ask questions now. And by that, I don't necessarily mean ask me questions, and I'll take y'all's questions in a minute, but ask questions of your department chair, of your administrative assistant. You know, if you have put money in there because you're going to pay someone to do a workshop. This is actually a question that came up in last year's session like this, because I watched that video yesterday. They said, we had put money in our budget. We wanted to pay somebody to facilitate a workshop. Can we do that? And I said, well, first of all, you need to talk with your department chair about whatever process needs to be put in place to do that. And then second, because this money, you know, it's supposed to be spent before June 30th, then you're looking at needing to schedule that for the first half of the summer, you know, before that June 30th deadline. So take a look at your budget, what you have planned, sit down with your department chair, your administrative assistant, ask questions about how to spend these things. Ask questions to make sure that they are, the things that you're planning are within university guidelines. So we, you know, the subcommittee of the graduate council reviews these. But we don't study down and go, oh, you cannot do that because the university says you cannot. So you definitely want to make sure that you are asking questions now and planning all that out so that everything goes smoothly. And so that's all the information I wanted to share. I told y'all it would be really quick. And so I'll open it up to see what questions we have. I thought I had one in the chat, but that's just Odanola talking to me. So I'm glad you were able to make it, Odanola. And if you have a question, you just have to speak up.
This is Keith Lenz, and we had a recruitment meeting in the College of Ed yesterday.
Okay.
And one of the questions that I raised, but no one was really sure, was in terms of the communications and our marketing area, that group, it would be helpful to know what is their broader marketing strategy for the university to see how we could either, build on that or be aware of that, kind of know what it is that they actually do for the whole university, and to what degree do they mention the colleges and programs, so we could be informed.
Yeah. Keith, I think you asked a similar question to that last year. Like I said, I watched that video yesterday. So consistency is your middle name. That's awesome. So, I had them do this presentation last year, and they got really down in the weeds again with all this information, and they didn't really give us a big understanding of the broader picture, which is fine. I didn't ask them to do that this year just because it was too late. Like, I waited too late to ask them, and I didn't want to impose on their time. I can certainly ask them to come back to this group or put together some type of message to send to you all to answer that question about the larger picture. I can tell you from like my interactions with both Kimberly and Mark Heffington over the past 4 years, we worked quite a bit to develop the graduate school's tagline, which is inspired, empowered, accomplished. And we've used that in our marketing pieces, like on the billboards that went up in the April through July for the graduate school, like that was there. And so one thing in the future, and so now I'm kind of talking to Michael Mills, who's on this call, looking ahead, is that we'd like to see all of the programs connecting to that tagline, so that we have kind of a common, sorry, I'm getting a phone call from Jamaica right now. I'm going to send that spam and put that off to the side. We'd like to see everyone connecting to the tagline so that there's a common message that's coming out about graduate school. And so that's ongoing work to start communicating that to you all. We have been working for almost 3 years on their their program description sheets. My vision, and we're so close to having this done. My vision is a trifold. So, you open it up and it's got information about graduate school, kind of, the big global look at graduate school, maybe some stuff about UCA, but it's got an insert. And so in the insert pocket is where we would pick up, like we'd look over here and I have a card for every program. And I'd say, oh, you're interested in the MBA? And I'd pull up the MBA card and I'd stick that in there. And then, oh, you're also interested in data analytics. And I'd pick up the data analytics. I'd put that card in there. And then they'd say something like, I'm also interested in graduate assistance. Oh, well, let me get my graduate assistantship card. So like all the information would be on these cards. We'd put it in there. We tailor it. We hand it to them. So my goal in creating that is to have that to take to like graduate fairs and things that we go to. At the same time, we would like to provide that for the programs. So programs have their own information sheets and stuff like that right now. And you can continue to use those, that's fine, but not everybody has those. And so that's one thing that we're working on. But again, in doing that, we're building it out so that there's this uniformity to it. It's the same kind of information on all of them. It builds on that tagline and so forth, so that we're getting a more consistent message about graduate programs at UCA. What do they all have in common? How do we tie them together? And why graduate education at UCA? So while I can't speak really to like the larger university work that they're doing, those are the things that we've been working on at the graduate level. A lot of the marketing that's done for the university is done by ERI, which that is Eric Robertson and Isaac, I think, ERI. So that's a marketing firm. And some of those dollars are supposed to be dedicated to the graduate school. And so, like the cost of those billboards and stuff, the graduate school didn't pay for that. That was part of those ERI marketing dollars. And so they are looking at trying to step up what they do for graduate education. But in terms of what that plan is right now, I cut myself out of that conversation because it was a lot of the provost telling me, and I'd tell Mark Heffington, and then he'd tell me, and I'd tell the provost, and I said, that's not efficient. Y'all need to talk to each other. And I don't really know where we landed on that regard. So again, I'm looking at Michael Mills thinking, Michael, that's something that you probably want to pick up in the spring is where are we in terms of that ERI and those marketing dollars that are, specifically targeted for the graduate school. We put forth three plans. One was like $100,000 a year. One was at 70, one was at 50, and one was at 30. And, aimed high, but knew we could go low if we had to. And so the university is trying to take that step. And I think once they take that step, then this group can come back to the table. Because then the question is, should we be spending, $2,500 in each program, or should we put that whole 30,000 together and do a more consistent, broad-based plan that's put out by the university? So some of those discussions will occur in the future. So Keith, I know I haven't answered your question, but I've given you a lot of different little nuggets of information that are related.
Thank you.
Some other questions from folks.
Well, Dr. B, I know I speak for the group when we all thank you very much for awarding us this money. I've got a question about swag. I've seen you at career fairs with your good swag. We've actually gone outside the university and bought some of ours. Are you saying we can get it from UMac? Is that where you got yours?
Jennifer Bell would have to talk to you about how we do ours, but UMac usually helps us to create it or make it or get it ordered or whatever. But Jennifer's the one that takes care of that.
Okay.
And so she could give you information on that. And I will say that we do order a lot of swag and we do intend to hand it out. So if you and your budget didn't include swag, but then you're like, but I'm going to this university next week to talk to potential students, you can ask us and we'll put together stuff for you and you can take it. Because in a lot of ways on our campus and on campuses in general, swag is seen as money that doesn't have to be spent. In a moment of budget crunch and crisis, should we be spending our money on plastic cups or should we be, spending it in other ways? And so at a program level or at a department level, people may be like, we just can't spend money on swag. But at the graduate school level, if I show up to a graduate fair and I don't have anything, then, that's not a good showing. So we continue to buy our swag and we do buy it in bulk so that we can share it with our programs. So please know that y'all can rely on us for that. And at any time you can just contact us and tell us how much you want and we'll set it up for you. But Jennifer would be a good resource. Cool. If you're trying to create swag stuff for the first time and wanting to know what does that process look like, talk to Jennifer because she's the one that does ours each year. That's Jennifer Bell, JBell 15.
Oh, we know Jennifer. Yeah, Nathan just said that he worked with Kimberly on his swag. Mm-hmm. And I got to put in a selfish plug. Mark Heffington was a student of mine a long time ago. He and his wife, Kristen, and they both work here at the university. But yeah, Nathan said he worked with Kimberly last year. So awesome. Thanks for all that. Yeah.
And I see we have another question on the communications tool site, and you have to pick a division. So we're under academic affairs is who you would select. Again, congratulations on receiving the recruitment grant. We were able to fund all or some of every proposal, which I'm really pleased with. I hope that one day this discussion is we had a proposal from every program and we could not fund them all. I want everybody to start, trying to get the money. But in the meantime, I'm very appreciative of the work that you all did because you did take a moment to pause, put your proposal together and send it to us. As you go through this, know that Leslie George is definitely a resource for you. If she doesn't have the answer, she'll get it for you. I said Jennifer is a great resource for just navigating that process of swag. She can talk to you about what we've done. And as questions come up, let us know. Thank y'all. That's all I've got. Y'all have a great afternoon.